welcome. Thank you for joining me, and welcome if you're new. I felt really guided to come on today and talk about the energies right now. I woke up in the middle of the night, maybe like four or five nights ago, and I had this really interesting experience. It wasn't like a panic. It was like a shock. Like I woke up in a shock where I felt like the world was gone. I felt like I couldn't feel the world. And I got up and I kind of like, I think I turned on the light or like I stood up and I was like, looking, I was like, no, the world is still here. Um, but what it felt like to me, and so we were talking about this in the last reading, if you watched that, how like the structure of society, the mind control, the programs, the hijacks, the overlays, they create this like false reality and this sort of structure that makes us feel plugged in and it makes us feel safe. And when that starts to loosen, we can feel uneasy. It can kick up kind of panic. It can kick up fear programs and stuff like that as we're releasing. So it's been releasing. It's been loosening because where we're at and the shift of the ages and been going on with the solar gain and the solar flares and where we're at in the photon belt and all the prophecies for this time, the shift of the ages, right? So this has been going on, but I feel like since the solstice, and so we were talking about this in that last reading as well, that sort of portal energy. A lot of us are sort of like trembling on the threshold of, right? So what it feels like to me is that enough of us have made it on through the other side, and so it reminds me the way I've been feeling the last few days, or I don't know, I have like no concept of time anymore, but almost like, what we hear about in fantasy stories around going through portals like Harry Potter or like Outlander, if you've seen that, where they go through the stones and then when they come out the other side into the other timeline or into the other dimension, it's like they're a little nauseous, they might be puking or like they're falling down on the ground and they're trying to figure out where they're at and they're acclimating to this new space. So that's how I've been feeling the last however many days it's been. And again, I always talk about this. Whatever's going on in our personal hologram is a fractal of the larger energy. So for me, we had all that intensity with the fire, the wildfire in our national forest, almost 50,000 acres right near my town. And so that the monsoons have come, so that's died down. And then my daughter had been away for 3 weeks, like almost the entire time that the fire was here, and so she's back now. And then I like pulled back from like some of the offerings I had been doing in town, taking a little break. So my whole like thing, my whole schedule, my whole life, my whole hologram is different now. But again, that's representative of the energy. So you might be feeling that with yourself, like something shifting, something shifting. And even like we're not allowed to go into the forest because the fires are still burning in spots, and that's been a huge part of my weekly and like bi-weekly routine here. So not having that, right? So are you feeling that where something's kind of shaken up, or where it's like, but that's supportive, like often, or a sickness or an injury or something like that, or like somebody that you're used to being around that's not around right now, or something like that, right? That shakes up the routine because we're going through a whole recalibration. We're going through a recalibration, and we can often miss it because we're in lots of different dimensions. We're in the third dimension. We're in between the third and the fourth and the fifth and on up. So it's like we're sliding in between all these, and we can view things from different dimensional perspectives. So from a 3D level, it might look just like whatever the 3D circumstance is, but if you lean into it a little bit more, you can kind of see the 4D representation, like what is clearing out of your body in this time, what's getting triggered, what is going on in the fourth dimension, what overlays, which programs, which hijacks, are loosening or showing themselves as they're leaving. And then in the higher fifth dimensional and higher perspectives, what are we acclimating, what is coming online, what are we growing into more of. And so holding that broad perspective where we're seeing on as many different levels as we can. And of course, the higher the level, the higher in frequency level that we can see, the more unified that one is, right? So that's the one to kind of come back to, right? To let that be the overreaching perspective, because it's the most empowering, and it's the one that leaves the most freedom and wiggle room to, if we're only viewing through the third dimensional perspective, then, we're back in the, we can be back in the program. We can be back hooked in with the things that keep us small, right? This is about expansion. It's about coming into the truth of reality and everything that's possible. So yeah, it feels like a lot of us kind of pushed on through to the other side and then acclimating to that. And I feel as a result of that, there's a lot of the hooks that have been holding a lot of those programs in place are just loosened. They're just loosened, and I could feel it. We can feel things, or at least I can feel things really clearly in the middle of the night. And it was like, so I'm noticing things like this too. Okay, so for example, and I've talked about this before, I've referenced it before, the some of I'm always talking about the programs and the overlays. A lot of you know what I'm talking about, um, but that kind of hijack in with like, so say the COVID virus, or say different things. There are these programs, or little I don't know exactly how it works, but like frequencies or signals that run, that get in our neural pathways. And so there's a whole fear program. So you notice all the fear around COVID, and on a 3D level it was like, oh yeah, like a lot of people are dying. But I never had it in the sense that I didn't have symptoms, but I did get the fear program, and I had it activating for me for about 2 years until I dismantled it. And so what it makes you feel, and you might have felt this, is like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And so that is active when the virus is running, but then it can kick up, like in really ridiculous, like I would have like these ridiculous situations where I'd be like, oh my God, I'm dying. And then I'd be like, it's fucking program again, It took me until I conquered my fear of death, until I was like, you know what? Death comes from God too. And if it's my time to go, then I will go, fuck you. You're not scaring me anymore. That kind of thing, right? And so again, those special ops things where some of us go in and we defrag these programs for the collective, right? And so my daughter came home from New York City, and she was sitting beside a man on the plane, and he had a really bad cough. And so she comes home next day, she's coughing. And so, again, 3D level, oh, she's sick. 4D level, oh, she's clearing. 5D level, oh, she's acclimating from the profound expansion that she went through in her 3 weeks, in New York City. And so, anyway, we were like, oh, well, okay, like we have all these different levels, but we know what it is on the highest level, and that's what we're staying with. So then she says to me, last night I had this fear come up, and the fear was that I was like, what if I have lung cancer? What if I have lung cancer? And oh, I'm pushing myself too much, all these things. And then we were like, oh, that's the overlay. Oh, you must have COVID, and we were like, and she's like, but then I was just like, well, if that's what needs to happen, then that's what needs to happen. And she said it like dissipated. And as she was telling me that, I was remembering how I felt when I had that going on, and I started to like feel it like kind of creep in, like some of those neural pathways that were active for so long, and I just went right back to that, like, well, I'm not afraid of death. I'm an immortal being, and whatever I need to do in whatever realm, is fine with me. And then it went. So that being a real example of those kind of overlays and those kind of programs and falsities and mind control, and all the different ways and how they're not working anymore. They're not working because enough of us have done that shadow work and have confronted these things and confronted ourselves and released the hooks, cleared the hooks, filled up the gaps, like all the tears in our arc field from the traumas and the self-abandonments. We've done that work where we're holding that intact circuitry where those things just deflect off anymore. We know how to defrag the program, like I was talking about last time with my friend, with the voice and the toning, and defragging. It's like we have our tools, we see, so we know, and a whole network of us. And again, that David Hawkins thing I was talking about last week, like just one person in that coherency covers like 750,000, I think is what it was. So yeah, so I feel like, enough of us stabilized on the other side of that portal, holding that anchor and really feeling in the field that kind of stuff just doesn't have the type of hold anymore. And that's not just for the people that have, so it's interesting because Amanda Lawrence, if you listen to her, I completely forgot that she was talking about, on the solstice, there was this portal that was opening, and that some people were going to go straight through, and that was the fastest way, and other people were going to kind of go around and then go through, and other people were going to go around a little further and then come back this way and then go through, and just all in their own perfect timing for whatever their souls need to experience through this awakening, for their soul and what they need, what they signed up for, and what all they need to unravel and all that. Okay, so but that's what I realized later. It was like, oh my gosh, that's what I was tuning into as well. That's what I was talking about. And so it does feel to me that something has shifted because of that. Enough of the people that went the whole way straight through. Okay, so but that doesn't just affect the unplugging of these overlays. Doesn't just affect the ones that went through what I'm seeing and feeling, the ones that went straight through. It affects everyone. And so that means the people in your life that maybe were really caught up in some sort of mind control program, or some sort of conditioning through society where they were just like so locked onto it, whether it was like religious or political or medical or, just self-concepts or whatever it was. I feel we're going to be seeing things loosening in these people. And so and so I feel like there's a real guidance in not viewing people the way they used to be. Not assuming that anyone is who they were previously, even like a week ago or 3 weeks ago. It's like there's just infinite expansion for all of us. And the best thing that we can do if we are aware of these things, and we are kind of working that consciousness level, is to just hold space for people and to hold openness, but mostly just live in your own frequency and shine out your own transmissions, because like structured water, the more coherent frequency is going to dominate. It's going to activate, and it's going to clear. You're going to clear people in your field just by holding the frequency that you've maintained. And so of course that will require some boundaries, because then people are going to be flocking, right? Because they're going to feel that in your energy field. But having those boundaries for that self-care, and also, just not enabling people from vamping off of you and stuff like that. But just knowing that all you have to do is hold your center. Because that's how I was feeling, where I was like, oh my gosh, everything's really different, and what am I doing, and holy crap, and just really honoring that sort of like weird, like a caterpillar soup time, but also and just knowing that the guidance, and that all of it will make sense later, and to just kind of give myself this time. But starting to see that some of that directive of just like literally just being in the present moment, being in that now moment, completely surrendered and completely aligned with the frequency that you've attained through all your shadow work and all your hard work and all your boundaries and all your clarity and all your just risk-taking in a way, risk-taking and listening to your intuition and not letting fear rule you, and standing up against the programs that want to scare you and corral you and all of that. It's like you know how to do this, and just continuing to do that is really, really going to affect the collective, because this movement and this expansion is available to everyone. But a lot of people are still, it's like the power that it has isn't there anymore. It's not like hooked in, the hooks are out. So the only thing that's keeping this sort of like trapping system going is our own belief in it, or our own choosing of it, but it's, even if we are still choosing it or holding it, it's not going to have the same allure, and it's not going to have the same like, what are you doing if you start to loosen, right? People are going to be able to get out easier. And it's just like, I am so freaking excited. I've been so like ecstatic about this, because we've waited for so long. We've waited for so long, and we've worked so hard, and this is like eons, and it goes back, again, I'm always talking about all the different levels, but if your galactic memories have come online, then holy shit, it's like everything that we've gone through to reach this point, and it's actually happening now. So I am going to jump into the cards. Wow, I only talked for 13 minutes. That's pretty good. And see what else wants to come through around this, and these really super exciting energies. I know it's not very exciting for everybody. A lot of people are still maybe feeling that that sort of like madness energy. If you didn't catch that last video and you are kind of feeling like you're going crazy, check it out. Both on YouTube, Lineage of the Blue Rose Tarot, and on my Facebook page if you go to the videos, because I really went into it. I really went into it, kind of guiding the way through those intense passages, those threshold moments. But yeah, and a lot of people just kind of, if you don't have a real spiritual compass, you can just kind of feel like you're spiraling out. So I want to see what other message might want to come through, just for, oh wow, that's beautiful. So we get Eagle, Spirit has your back. That is a number 5 card, 2 and 3, adding up to a 5. 5s being about change. We are going through a really huge change right now. And again, the eagle, oh gosh. So my daughter and I were at the river the other day, and there was this eagle. And I could tell, by its wing, it was high, but I could tell by the way it was flapping and flying. And so it just like flew around us for probably like 10 minutes, and it just went around and around and around. And I think that might have even been the day after I woke up and felt that release and saw that release. Anyway, it just felt so incredibly auspicious. Like I don't have really good eyesight, so I've probably seen eagles more than I know, but I've only really consciously or to my awareness seen them a couple times, but never for that long. And so Anyway, really interesting. Also, when I was going through my sort of threshold moment before, when I was talking about the hawk, there was eagle stuff that was coming through at that time too, and a lot of synchronicities with the eagle. So, and the eagle being the one that was basically telling me you're safe to go through. You're safe to go through, and in fact, you're already through, and you need to go through, for your mission and stuff like that. So I think it's really interesting. We're getting this eagle spirit right now as we're talking about moving through into this sort of freedom zone outside of the hijacks and the realm. Whether you went through that portal or whether you're moving into that freedom now through the loosening of the things that have had the hold on you. And a lot of people don't realize how many attachments that we have, how many entities we have, how many programs are running through other people that were that stuff is coming through, that astral interference, through our connections, through our karmic connections, through our sexual connections, and all the ways that we're infiltrated. We don't know because we're just, it's like how like our, so many people, like all of us, or I don't want to say all of us, I shouldn't word it like that, but the parasites in our bodies, like whether it's like, if we look at it on the 3D level through the physical, or the 4D level through the astral, but just things that are feeding off our energy. And again, I'm always talking about that, the ways that we're leaking into the very systems that are keeping us trapped and held. Shit, I forgot what I was saying. Hold on. Yeah, a lot of us don't realize that. We don't realize it's very normal. It's just how it's been, because this is a hijacked, it is a hijacked realm. And so our powers have been capped, and our ability and our DNA has been capped. And what is possible, again, that highest view of the eagle, that the very top level, we haven't, and even like in Native American traditions, it's like you can't have an eagle feather unless you earn it. You have to earn it. You got to climb your way up that DNA, and get it. But it's happening now, and it's easier and easier. It's easier and easier. But a lot of people don't realize that the reason why it's been so hard is because we have been attacked, and we have been mind controlled through society, but also through the astral realm, and through our thoughts, and through our dreams and stuff like that. And so, yeah, if you do have strange dreams, and a lot of that stuff is real. A lot of that stuff is real, and just knowing that you can clear yourself, and when you feel like you're having repetitive thoughts, you can command your sovereignty. You are that eagle. You are that God sovereign free being who can and we can all claim that. We can all claim that space, and it's going to work a lot easier now because those plugs are removed. So it's time for the masses to become aware of the energetic and the astral interference and that type of thing, because everybody can eat. Before, it was only like the warriors who would went in on special ops and had to like battle like leagues of energies and demons, and you think you're gonna die, and all these things as like the realm walkers, the shadow workers. But now, everyone can do this. Everyone can clear their energy field. Everyone can command their space, because the energy and the frequency of this planet, and the scales have tipped, and the collective consciousness is one that is supportive. It's supportive of everyone. So that's really beautiful. When I do these readings, I do channel, and I just start saying things, and then later when I listen, I learn as well. So I'm in that zone. I'm in that zone right now. So that's so beautiful to hear, and I feel that as well. I feel the resonance with what I'm saying, that this is a new path. It's a new path for all of humanity. The Page of Earth. I think we got that. I think we've been getting this card. Have we? Did we get it last time? It's like we're on that new path. But this is like humanity, like the newly awakened people. The ones that are just catching on. It's like they just woke up. And their wings are still a little bit wet, but they're like, hey, where am I? And that's how I felt the other day too. Just kind of like, where am I? Like, what time frame am I in? Is there still cities like thinking of Outlander when they go through the rocks, and they're seeing like what part of the highlands, is there a city, or are there cars, or did we go backwards? Did we go back even further? You know what I'm saying? If I saw it, if not, I apologize. Maybe you're catching my drift, but just kind of catching, but all the different levels, no matter where you're at on your journey, I feel that there is this sort of like fresh start kind of energy where it's like, where am I? Like, something's different, and I need to acclimate to it, and I need to figure out, or do I need to figure out? I don't know. It's like I need to just like, I can't do what I was doing before. Maybe I can't do it because I'm tired, or because I feel weird, or because I just don't feel like leaving my house, or because I'm sick, or because, my car broke down, or whatever it is. But a lot of situations in our lives supporting us, and just kind of taking that time to be that like new, that new person that doesn't quite know what they're doing yet. Giving yourself time. The roots are maybe not so anchored yet. They're kind of delicate. You don't want them to rip up. So just give it a couple weeks. Give it a couple weeks to get a little stronger. And again, Spirit has your back in this. If you are feeling a little vulnerable and you're like, well, I don't know where I am, and I don't know how to do this, and I've never done this before, and this is really new for me, and like, it's like, don't worry about it. Like, you're gonna grow into it, just like the plant. You'll come to your flower, and just trust your process and go slow if you need to. Oh, interesting. There's so much energy with this. So I got this card this morning for myself, and I did a personal reading today. And this card also came up, but in a different deck. I have like six different tarot decks, so all different decks, but the same card, the Six of Cups. So it's interesting because the Six of Cups is a card of like nostalgia and longing, but it's also like a soul. It can be like a past life card, or like a soul contrast card. And the way it's coming through for me right now, is sort of this remembrance where like you're in this new terrain and it feels really familiar. It's like new to you and you don't know how to do it, but some part of you is like, it's almost like deja vu, where you're like, wait a minute, like I remember this. This is like the psychic waters where you're like, hold on, like, maybe like that part of you, that part of your soul that's like, okay, July of 2025 is when, the overlays are coming off and you're going to get your wings, this kind of thing. And some part of you remembers that, like just that guidance that you're feeling, that guidance that's coming through in your dreams, or coming through in that liminal space, or coming through when you're running, or whatever you do, where you're in the shower, with the running water, or pacing, I like to pace. I get stuff going when I pace around my house. My neighbors probably all think I'm crazy because I have like 30 windows and I don't have any coverings on them. So pacing in my house, I turn off my lights at night for that reason. But just whatever you need to do to get that energy and that connection flowing. It's like there's a part of us that remembers how to do this, and that remembers that we came here for this, and this is that time. So I'm feeling a real celebratory energy in the background. If you're, again, we were talking about like the 3D, the 4D, the 5D. If you can just like stretch yourself into broader dimensional perspectives and loosen yourself out of the like super 3D one, you can feel these whispers of remembrance. It's a nostalgia. It's a nostalgia for what we remember from before the fall, and what we remember from those higher ages. And so I saw this beautiful painting on Facebook that I shared, and I don't know if anybody even saw it, but it was called The Lonely Mermaid, and she was sitting in a boat and she looked so lonely. And that's what this reminds me of. And I felt that energy my entire life, where it's like I remembered something and I longed for something, but I couldn't remember what it was. I just knew that it wasn't here, or it was covered up, or I was like trapped away from it, or whatever. So that's what we're talking about now, those traps and those veils coming off, where we're able to see it and feel it again, where we feel a connection to it, where it's not like it's like chunk cut off. And that's what happened to us. We were cut off from the higher dimensional frequencies as Lyrans, or however far back you want to go. Not everybody's into the galactic stuff, but yeah, if you get into, or you start remembering galactic history, we were cut off from those higher dimensional frequencies. Our DNA was capped. There were distortions that separated us, separated our polarities, our masculine and our feminine, and just created inversions in the way our energy field runs. And so we've been all jacked up. So, and that's a good message for if you feel like you just couldn't get your shit together, not in a worldly way where we're programmed. We got to, do, you might feel that way too, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, spiritually, or with your heart, or with your alignment, or with your ability to see, or convict, or whatever. Have your be convicted to your ascension or your spirituality. It's like we've basically been cross-eyed. We've been cross-eyed, and we've been corralled, and so just a short message of not being hard on yourself for what you couldn't do before, because literally everything was stacked against you. And especially if you are a very high soul, then you would have had even more attack and more overlays on you. And it takes a really long time to clear and to heal the wounds that allow those things access to you. So it takes many karmic situations trigger you, or catalysts, things to trigger and awaken you to come face to face with whatever it is that's providing that access for either the leaking or the attachments that keep you corralled and confused, with low self-esteem, or the programs that run that make you feel bad about yourself. And so anyway, a lot of that shadow work being done in the collective. And remember, we are all connected, and we do come in as pods. So if you came in to unravel a certain, like, there's a whole group of people that are unraveling the childhood trauma, sexual abuse trauma type of thing, and they're all working together, and they might be like a whole network of souls. You might have a whole network of souls in your life that have betrayed you, or just, whatever it is, been really abusive to you or whatever, but it's like you're still working on that trauma and that piece, that specific hijack, or that specific program, or that specific thing, which of course links up way farther back, with the fall. It all comes back to the fall and the split and the hijack that happened galactically, but working on it in this lifetime, in this sort of like 3D level. But all those people in your life, being a part of your soul group, even if they played a really shitty part, or at least being a part of how you and your soul group are unraveling these programs. There are other players. They might not necessarily be a part of your soul group, but they're playing the opposite polarity. They're the catalyst that you need to clear the things that you need to clear, so that you can seal up those cracks and tears through the traumas that we've had over the eons, so that we're not leaking energy and we're not having those attachments. Okay, so again, enough people doing that like, even if there's a whole pod of us. So even if you took on a really heavy load, so it's taken a really long time for you to move through it, somebody else in your soul group is also doing that. And so them doing it also benefits you, and what you do benefits them. And so it's just going on like that, where within your soul group, within your pod, you're all working together, and you're all benefiting together, and you're up-leveling because of each other's efforts, even if you haven't met each other yet in this lifetime, or never do, and this includes, off planet, or disincarnate, people that have passed over, your ancestors, or people that that you knew that passed on, that are still working with you because they're still part of your soul group. And so releasing the traumas, the traumas that create those tears, and sealing things off, and all of it rippling out to all of the collective. So you're never alone in what you're doing. What you do affects others, and what others do affect you. So it is a group effort, even though we can kind of forget that. So that's a message of this card too, because it is those past life connections, and that soul family, and that soul mission. That's how it's coming through today. So there is a new shift. We're stepping in a new territory with that. And there's this huge, overseeing of the project, overseeing of the soul pods, and all the different groups, this maybe the narcissist empath is that's would be the one I'm in, or over here, the cult type stuff, or over here in this group, and we're all working on that. And then the sexual abuse, all working on that. And then the whatever else it is, I don't know, whatever group you have, and those are going to be the types of people you're going to attract to work things through, as you heal, and just seeing that bigger picture, that beautiful bigger picture, that it's all held within this symphony of unraveling, and that we're just making huge progress as predicted for this time. But I really feel that solstice energy, that solstice portal, was just really huge, and it makes sense because it was so intense. It felt so intense, and it felt so really big. And now, and again, a lot of fire, and now feeling a lot of water, and we are in Cancer season right now, and really feeling that. I'm really feeling a lot of nurturance, and just kind of wanting to be home. And it's like raining a lot here. We're in the monsoon season, and just maybe going out into nature a little bit, and then coming home and like cooking a nice meal. And like that Cancer energy is super strong for me right now, even though I don't have any Cancer in my chart. It doesn't matter. It's just the energies going on around us, that nurturing and that kind of self-care as we acclimate. So it'll be interesting once we move into that more fiery Leo energy at the end of the month. I actually really look forward to that. Okay, so the next card that we get is the King of Cups. I really don't like the King of Cups in this deck. Like, he's kind of creepy to me. Like, first of all, why are his thighs so ginormous? I mean, maybe that's how he swims so well. I don't know, but he just looks kind of like a cunt to me in this. Sorry, it's not the right word, but in this card deck. So I'm just gonna pull another card to clarify that. Why is that coming up? Maybe that's not, maybe that's not the meaning of this card. Because traditionally, the King of Cups in his exalted expression is very intuitive. He's kind of the master of the intuitive psychic realm. Yeah, I'm just a little biased about, I'm a very visual person. I like beautiful things, and so this deck kind of tweaks me out. But I can tell from these cards that he's a good guy. He's got that spiritual mastery going on, because the next card that we have here is the Star card. We got this in the last reading as well. It was the last card that we had. I think I only pulled like 4 cards that time because I talked so much. But the Star card being a card of alignment and being held in the arms of the goddess. And so there you can see this child reaching out for this moth, this lunar moth, and just again that psychic perception, that psychic awareness, and that's what the King of Cups has. He has that mastery. He understands that realm. He understands that realm. So that's interesting. Let me pull a little bit more. That going along with this new path that we're moving into, more of our psychic gifts and our understanding of the energetic realm, which is what I was talking about as well. How a lot of people don't quite understand the extent of the hijack that we're under. All the different ways that we are through the mind control or through the entities or the astral attachments. And it sounds so creepy, but that's like sometimes in sessions I'll be like, okay, well here's an implant, and I don't mean to scare you, we all have them, and stuff like that. But that's the other thing I wanted to say. If you can find some kind of energy worker or somebody who can remove those things in your area, this is such a wonderful time for that, because again, these things are loosened and for all of humanity. So it's a really great time of cleanup, and there is a lot of fluidity and alignment in those energetic and psychic ways. To just move that energy and move through. So I feel like there's a strong message of that with these cards, where it's like we're in alignment. There's not much in the way right now, so we can make a lot of progress, and that's what this is too. He has a mastery. He has a progress. We can develop, whereas maybe before, if you would do I don't know, whatever it was that was like really hard for you, or if you would try to shamanic journey, or access your dreams, or remember your dreams, or lucid travel, or meditate even, or have visions, or whatever, it might have been really difficult. Even that kind of stuff is going to be easier now, because again, there's less clogging the way. So an ability to just discover more of ourselves, discover more of ourselves. And so again, sometimes people feel like they're behind. They feel like they're behind, and it's like, you're not behind. Your soul chose to do it a different way, and there are those of us that chose to really do a lot of that special ops cleanup, and then therefore we, can kind of like decode, because we have to decode, and it's like, that's again, just like we were talking about the different trauma things that we've taken on. It's like, we have different missions as well, and there's a group that's doing this, but then there's a group that's like but holding the light. Like, that's their whole mission, is to, they were drawn in, and I have a friend who, she's been doing TM for like 50 years, and she lived in the community there, and she, did ayahuasca for a little while, and then, kind of, integrated that and stopped doing it. She didn't need it anymore, but she's just been like naturally guided to like all these like, spiritual supports and practices that have really, really helped her keep this like very, very high frequency. She's one of my best friends, because it's like, we really balance each other out, because I'm like the deep diver, and I can bring all this information to her, and she just like holds that steady. She's like my anchor, and I'm like her expansion, and it's just like such a great team. And so, again, not judging yourself or having a different role or a different path in this ascension, all of it being really, really important. I talk about that a lot. I talk about that a lot. So, there's no behind, at this point, it's like all of our, whatever we weren't good at before, we're able to get better at. It's almost like we had our separate things, but now it's like what's it reminding me of? Like if you do like, I can't think of an analogy, but anyway, these separate things, and then the things between them dissolve, and they all kind of come into the same space, that kind of thing, where it's like, it's also part of that holding, where we come in with certain missions, and we come in, based on what we've trained in our lifetimes, but or our parallels, however you want to think of it. And that's for us to do what we need to do up until we reach this point in human evolution. But once we reach this point, it's almost like phase one of the mission is over, where, you know, whatever the catalyst you had to go through, and whatever the trials and whatever the awakenings and like the whatever it is, you know, however you were doing it, the lessons, the learnings, the all those things, it's like once you reach a certain point, which is this, you know, once humanity reaches a certain point, it's like the game kind of changes, and the game from this point is more about you know, just expansion into those energetic and psychic realms that have been capped from us. And that's where we get to just kind of like be arm in arm with the goddess, with the truth of reality, with the wholeness. The goddess is whole, you know, she welcomes everything in, you know, it's that unconditional love, that like embracing all of it, the light and the dark and the heartaches and the trials and the you know, the demons and, you know, all of it, seeing all of it as being being part of the journey, you know, part of the medicine, part of what it's taken to get us to this point. And then once we get to this point, you know, we get to we just get to play. We all get to play in the same garden. And a lot of that, I think, at this point is stabilizing and acclimating and just kind of adjusting, and also supporting and helping each other to move into this, because again, it's very, very new. You know, it's very, very new. So okay, I might keep this one a little bit shorter. I'm going to pull a couple more cards here, and let's see what we get. Oh, interesting. Balance. So balance is coming out underneath the eagle spirit and balance. You know, it's really interesting because I remember around the time that I was having that sort of like all these synchronicities and dreams with the eagle, you know, all these things. I had this like real clarity download around like how we it was like honoring the physical, you know, honoring the physical and how we're creating in the physical. And it had to do with the elements, which I was talking about in that last reading, with the fire and the water and the air, you know, and the earth and like in the ether, you know, I didn't bring up the ether and the earth, but, you know, all the things that were involved in my area with this fire and this transmuting and burning off of the overlays. Okay, so there it is again, the overlays and all the hijacks and all the sort of weird like traumas and things that have happened on the land here, and that are layered and felt, and clearing all that off. So that's another example of those things that were like calcified and anchored in, leaving, you know, leaving all around the grid and all the different places where that's happening. Okay, so that's just another example of that. But so all the elements of work, but the other thing that I saw was balance, how important the balance was in terms of anchoring physical form and staying in our physical form as well, where, you know, we have to have a balance of our masculine and feminine, and balance of our, you know, our action and our inaction, and balance of the elements within ourselves, within the way we're maneuvering in life, and all these things. So I think that's interesting that that's coming out underneath the eagle spirit, because that is sort of that energy of mastery again, you know, the eagle being the energy of mastery, and that balance of the elements and that balance of the polarities definitely being eagle medicine, because that's when you have the highest view, because you're again embracing it all, the feminine, the goddess energy, embracing everything, embracing the light and the dark, and, you know, and the spirit and the matter, and having it all there. Nothing can be rejected. And when you have all, you have that God fractal, and that's when you have the ability to create in this realm, and you have the ability to anchor the higher, to anchor that higher alignment down in the physical. And that's where the goddess energy is so important, because the goddess energy embracing all and not looking in that sort of like chopped up linear way where things are separate, where you want to understand things in this like really separate way. It's like understanding things in a multi-dimensional way, where you have it be fractals, and you have it be layers, and you have it be, you see it here, and you see it here, and you see it here, and you see it here, and, you know, you see the inverse over here, but that's still here, you know what I mean? And you bring it all in, you bring it all in, and that's when you really have that creation energy. It's the feminine energy that creates, that gives birth, that has the portal within, and even if you're a man, you're birthing your creations, you're birthing your soul, you're birthing your remembrance, you know, you're birthing this part of you that came here to bring through. Okay, so and it was the feminine energy that got rejected and outcast in this realm. You know, that was the cutting off of our DNA and of our dimensional axis, was the cutting off of the feminine, because it fragmented things, it separated them. So coming back into that wholeness. So that feels like a powerful message with those two here. Let's see what we get with this one. Oh, that's funny. So underneath the page of Earth, we get the page of Wands. So two pages, but this one is kind of like, ooh, a new adventure. This is sort of what we were just talking about. Like, how do we anchor this on the ground? How do we anchor this new spirit energy? This new, spirit, psychic, energetic information, astral, however, the behind the scenes energy coming in. How do we anchor that down? And I feel like we just got that message with the eagle and the balance, and the association that came for me with the form and the balance, and holding it all and allowing it all. But this one coming out after the balance, so it is indicating a new adventure that's exciting. Like, look at look at him or her, just really super excited, and also like having a lot of energy for it and stepping forward into it, but remembering that balance and remembering that grounding as well, as we step forward. So I might just complete this row because I like reading them on top of each other. Yeah, okay, so that's interesting. So the Seven of Wands is a card of protection as well. And so, and this is coming out underneath the Six of Cups. So again, the Six of Cups being that remembrance. And so the Seven of Wands it's protection, but it's often protecting, like, what are we protecting here? We're protecting that remembrance. We're protecting that vision, that deja vu, that cellular memory, that thing that's come back around, because this is often a card in the Tarot, the Hidden Realm. I love the way they describe this card. It's like they describe it like you knew you wanted something. You felt connected to something, and it was just a part of you. And then somewhere along the way, you got conditioned out of it. You got confused out of it. You got hurt out of it. Whatever it was, you gave up on the dream. And then this being the card, that moment when you not only remember the dream, but you choose it again. Like it's like a flame ignites, and that's kind of what this is. It's that little spark that's like, oh wait, I remember. So we have the wand and the wand, I remember this. What are we remembering? We're remembering that soul call, that lonely mermaid that's like, wait, I'm stuck on land here, but the truth is there's not just land. There's this aquatic realm as well, that I have these really huge thighs that I can swim in. I can swim underwater. I don't need to avoid those watery depths. I don't need to avoid that goddess energy that embraces all. I don't need to avoid and shut out anything. I can embrace it all because I know how to swim in these waters, because I used to be that mermaid. And so it's that spark of remembrance. So that's really, really beautiful, that spark of remembrance. And I think that's happening for a lot of us, again, no matter where you're at on your journey, to whatever level it's happening. Again, because the overlays and the hijacks and the implants and the programs and the AI, the discordant things that get their way in. I know it's freaky, but a lot of that's just how it is. Are loosening. And so here we have the Lion Queen, which is interesting. That is that very kind of Leo energy. So that, we're coming up on Lionsgate again. Wow, that came fast. Wow. And so the 8-8 portal is not that far away. That's about a month away. But anyway, the Lion Queen in this deck often comes through for me as the Queen of Wands, that magnetic energy. And so that coming out underneath the King of Cups. And again, the King of Cups having that mastery over the psychic realm. Okay, so the Queen of Wands, and I always talk about this, she has her circuitry intact. She's magnetic. You cannot be magnetic if you're leaking energy, or if you have attachments that are sucking off your energy, whether that's a person or whether it's entity through them, or whether it's an addiction or a pattern that you can't stop yourself from doing. There are things feeding off of you on that, right? When you can seal off your energy leaks and you come into that intact circuitry, then you're magnetic, and you pull in, but you also have access to more of yourself and to more of that broader realm. You can get multidimensional. You can get outside of the confinement of the 3D, and the 3D realm that keeps you limited thinking, and the 4D realm that keeps you leaking and battling. You get into that higher realm. This is coming through now, these two cards, as that higher realm frequency, that which we have been cut off from, coming back online, having that access, but we have that access through our intact circuitry. So again, even if you're not somebody who's done a ton of shadow work, or who has you're still benefiting from those people that have been, again, in your soul group or in just the collective at large, that has been going in astrally and sealing things off for the collective. It's still benefiting you. And then the shadow work that you are doing, or confronting your feelings, whereas before maybe you couldn't feel and you just had to run. You can sit with them now. You can sit with them, and you're going to have your higher access and your higher self with you to guide you. That spirit has your back. You're going to be guided, and you're going to make more progress this time in clearing, so that your energy can be intact, so that you can start to magnetize in and partake in that which has been kept from you. So really, really beautiful message there. So I'm going to pull one last card. What deck? I think I'm going to do this deck. I'm going to do this angel deck. Angel of Atlantis deck. All right. See what we get here. Oh, that's beautiful. So security, so just the last message being one, that you are safe, and you're safe. And again, that message of you're held in the arms of the goddess, because the goddess holds all. The goddess doesn't reject anything, and we can take that lead and embody that, because we all have that energy within ourselves, just like we all have the different elements within ourselves. We all have all the different archetypes and all the different energies that are here in this realm, because we are all, all is one, the law of one. And so that that goddess, divine feminine, unconditional love energy, extending that to ourselves and to each other. But this huge message of that you're safe, you're secure. Not only that, it reminds me of the 444 energy again, where we are anchoring this template and we're anchoring it together. So we're securing this energy, and it's secured for humanity. We've been securing this energy. It's secured for humanity to the point where they can start to receive this self-love and this love from on high, where you feel it. You might just feel more peace. You might just feel more held. You might just feel more able to be in the moment and to release if you're too much in your head, or you're too much in your past, and even if you are, in that, you can see it as, oh, I'm clearing, or, there's something kicked up right now that I need to release, that I can release. Sometimes the waters are like a flood, and they move through really fast. So we were talking about that in that last reading as well. That last reading was really about, sitting with the uncomfortable things and moving through. I don't remember what all I said, but I know that was a lot of it, when it gets really intense like that, and being able to hold steady and know that it's for you. And so a little bit of a message coming in at the end here with that too. If you are in that energy still, just knowing that you're safe and you're held. Beginning and ending this row with a real holding message. So let me just look and see if there's anything else from these cards that wants to pop out before we end. Yeah, I think that the last message, again, coming back to these two, just sort of holding space for yourself, and that comes through with this, what I said with this last message as well, of extending that love and that holding for yourself. But this is a real kind of like vulnerable, soft, mermaidy energy, and this is that protective energy. So we read it before as that rekindling of that remembrance, but there also is a message, and I kind of skipped over it, but it wanted to come up because it is relevant again. As well. It's relevant as well of just kind of protecting yourself. Like this is kind of like the snail that came out of its shell, or the turtle that came out of its shell, where it's like, it's in my best interest to be really soft right now and to feel these things. Like I need to let down my guard, and I need to allow all of that emotion and that water. This is a lot of water, these two cards right here. And this one as well, it's like, it's cosmic energy coming in. It's cosmic energy coming in, and there is a bit of a portal, I feel, with this energy for healing and holding. And you are safe in that, but just this last message of like, just protect yourself in a way, like be wary of, not wary, be aware and discerning about what, and it kind of comes up with this card as well, with a balance card, where it's like, just kind of using your intuitive sense, using your gut feeling about like what is in support. Like if this is what we're doing, if we're taking our shells off and we're going into that soft space and we're feeling what is actually supportive to you right now. Like maybe what's supportive to you is protecting your energy and not going out. Like I'm not really going out. Like I'll go to the store, I'll come home. And I'll go into nature. Like I just don't want to be around anybody, because what we're doing right now, acclimating to this new thing is so important. And we were talking about this last time too. If you go into that old energy, it can kind of just like, especially last time it was like, it can keep you from going over the edge, and you want to go over that edge. So just kind of like, just put that on pause until you get through the other side. Now it's kind of coming through like, it's like it can just hurt. Like it can just kind of hurt, like you're just unveiled right now. And so just choosing your company and not being around things that are really harsh. And I've been needing to kind of stay off of like screens and stuff like that. Like my daughter's home, and you know, we've been kind of like watching watching stuff. We're watching The Witcher for like the fourth or fifth time. It's just like one of the only shows that we're just like, we both thought at the same time, like in the same week separately, we both had the thought to watch it again. So it's really coded. There's a lot of codes in it for us. But anyway, staying off of things that are just kind of like jarring or just kind of screw up your frequency, because we are welcomed. There is this sort of like, again, that higher access that we've been cut off to. It's available to us right now. And if we are merging with that and in that sort of like watery mermaid space, just protecting yourself a little bit and protecting that space. So again, it's like these are little seeds, you know, and they're the pages, you know, they're just coming up. So you want to protect it, you know, you don't want it to get trampled on by like too loud of an energy or too discordant or too old or, you know, whatever it is. And again, it's like, it's not forever. It's just till we acclimate, until those roots grow a little stronger, until we're a little more acclimated. But I love that this is coming up. It's like this is indicating that we are through that portal. You know, we are collectively, even if you personally haven't like gone through, collectively we have. So it's going to be easier for you to catch on and to, again, clear and everything that I already said. But again, the pages, it's like we've stepped through, we're on the other side. And just being gentle with yourself and being protective of the space, because it's really important. It's really important if you do find yourself in this sort of watery space. And so I think that's it. I think I said it all. I'm just going to start repeating myself, although I do really like to summarize. So anyway, thank you for listening. I hope that was helpful to you. And thank you for joining, and thank you for courageously walking through into this new space, and for loving yourself. For loving yourself through it, for loving yourself through all the things, and for loving others as well. And even if that means taking some space from them, just that compassion, and knowing that this has been a really long journey, a really long journey that we've all been on, and coming more and more into into that intact circuitry where we're accessing more and more of ourselves. And so just blue skies ahead, even if it's kind of strange. We're making so much progress, huge progress, just since that solstice portal. So anyway, thank you for all that you do inside of yourself, and for joining me in consciousness today. All right, I'll see you next time if I do. Bye.